what I wanted to get through today was to, I guess, have a chance to actually recognise that things are really difficult at the moment, and be really honest with what's going on. So I think my learnings from COVID have been not to, I've written about this before, but not to be too optimistic and it'll be okay and we'll get through it, because I'm quite a positive person by nature. But also, so my learnings have been to be realistically optimistic, and to find or to acknowledge when things are hard and difficult, to actually let's put it out there. So we know that cost of living is rising, and so that means that people are more intentional or have some more discretion when they spend their money, which for many people in small business like us, it may mean that they've got less to spend, or they need a really good compelling reason to spend their money with us. As other costs are increasing, our margins are tighter. So again, recognising these things as we go through the next couple of months, I think is really important. So we just really want to, I guess, find a little bit of control where we're in a bit of a situation or a world where there seems to be a lot of things that are out of our control. So I think just being really honest about what you've seen in your industry, what you've experienced in your own business. This is a chance to be able to do that. And also, being pulled in lots of different directions. I think the overwhelming sense of being, or role of being a small business or a business owner these days is you've got lots of requirements, need to be lots of places all at once. And while it can be great to be a jack or a Jill of all trades, it can get really tiring. So just making sure we look after ourselves in that respect as well, to make it easier for ourselves. Because otherwise, if and I've probably found this maybe a year or so after 2020. So, and I was also had my third baby at 40. So, throw that into the mix. But I think when you are already a really busy, stressed business owner, add in, global pandemics like COVID, or as we're getting a national fuel crisis or international fuel crisis, and, supply and rising costs, it just adds fuel to the fire. Like, it just feels like I can't get a break. So we, again, these are things that are out of our control. So we need to find those things that are in our control to help us to be sustainable in our business and to keep going. Because we don't want to, the one thing we don't want to do is not panic. So I want to, be a place where people can, connect with, and also find some control and go back to what are some things that we can get clear on. What are some structures that we can put in place? What are some smart decisions for this time right now for us in our business? And again, it may be, it'll be a little bit different for everybody, depending on what, what extent our businesses or our lives are impacted. And we also don't know what we don't know. Same as with COVID, we made decisions that were best for us at that time with the information that we have had. And again, we just need to keep operating that way. So use this worksheet as it might be for the next, once a month for the next 3 months, for the next 6 months. We don't have a crystal ball. We don't know what's going to happen. So let's just be, get that control back in our business and our lives, to grow our business and to achieve our goals. So that way we can get sort of some clarity and get a bit clearer on that. So that's what we want to get through today. I guess the other thing is, rather than sugarcoating it, we just had the the national address from the Prime Minister, which was, again, addressing the elephant in the room, but what is actually happening. Let's not sugarcoat it. So from a business perspective, have a look at what's actually happening in your business. Is it all doom and gloom? Or have things kind of been, are they the same as what they were last March or April? Or have you, seen some growth in your customer base? So actually have a look at the data, have a look at your numbers. And I think just not get caught up in the panic of, the water cooler talk or what people are talking about at the shops, and, everyone has their spin on it. Personally, I choose to not get too, I don't get too bogged down in it, but I also do have learned through smoothing over things, going, it'll be fine. We also just want to be realistic as well. So have a look at your numbers, and we know that spending behaviour is shifting. Loyalty is changing. This pressure that we're feeling, will expose. Oh my God. The pressure is exposing weak systems. I mean, we're seeing that in, our national fuel supply. We're seeing that in higher costs of goods, and people who haven't been doing so well with their money are now really struggling. So those sorts of things, it's not just this is not an isolated incident. And I think making sure that we see that there's a shift in behaviour for our customers, so whether we're product-based or service-based businesses, people are, again, having to think more closely about how they're spending their money. They're being more selective, they're reprioritising, or they're prioritising differently. So if we're not across all of these aspects in our business, that will start to show cracks where, our pricing isn't right or our positioning isn't right. So I'm a big fan of taking on a challenge as an opportunity, which sounds very HR positive, in terms of thank you for this opportunity to learn more about my business and make me more successful. We don't have to go that far, but certainly be mindful about this panic or knee-jerk reaction where you might be struggling with cash flow, so I need to get more sales, so I'm going to cut my prices. Again, that will devalue your proposition and your business long term. So we don't want to make, quite reactive decisions to do things like that. Maybe another knee-jerk reaction might be to do more, which then adds more pressure on already existing activities, which means you might do a lot of things, but you do them shit, rather than do concentrated, beneficial activities for your business and do them well. Sorry, I can just hear Audrey was just going to try and find me. And also, rather than being strategic in your marketing, hitting lots of different things in lots of different ways, which isn't quite cohesive. So it's almost kind of like hold the line, is probably how I would describe, and this is not it's not the right or the wrong way. It's just a sensible way to go about it, without, panicking, without creating, it may be a short-term fix, but for long-term pain, or, devaluing your brand and your business long-term. So just have a think about, these are things that may feel like the right thing to do, but we just want to take a beat and just think about how can we, rather than be reactive, turn into a leader in our business, which is appropriate because our core topic this month is leadership and teams, even if you're a solopreneur. But rather than being reactive, let's be strategic. So that's what we want to get to today. We want to get you out of that reactive mode and into a strategic leader in your business, because the areas that you don't have control over, you're never going to get control over that. Those outlying factors that we just talked about, they're not in your control. They never will be. So let's control what we can control. And let's put our focus there. So our 3 control levers that we'll go through tonight is cash flow, time and energy, and your customers. So these are really in times of crisis or high pressure, these would be the things that I would suggest we look at, and that's what I've included on that worksheet. Especially when things feel really messy. And again, this can be something that maybe for the next 3 to 6 months, this is just higher on your focus for your business, rather than maybe every 2 or 3 quarterly, like maybe quarterly, you may revisit this. So let's move that up the list to just keep on top of this, to get this right. So then other things become easier and we feel more control of our business. So cash flow, it's a matter of, addressing that challenge of the price of lots of things are going up. Sorry, I was going to take a drink. So fuel, freight, shipping, so your supplier costs are going up. So they eat into your margins. It means that you may need to increase your prices. But again, we also, being community-minded business owners, feel the pressure of not passing that on to our customers. But we need to be in control here, and we need to lead. So if we are not pricing our, so I'm just having a look. Something we need to address. Sorry, something just popped up on my. Don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. So what can we control? So we control our pricing. Where might we be undercharging? Margins. So have a look at your cost of goods or cost of services or your subscriptions or things where your margins may be eaten away, and then have a look at thinking of what are some small wins that can then make a difference. So it may be looking at your 5 most popular products or services. Have a list. Have you factored in the cost of current costs of fuel into your budget and your forecasts? Have you added that into your cost of goods? So if you do have, if you can see, okay, not so bad this month, it may be next month and the next 3 months, this might be impacting. Is there a way that you can incrementally increase your prices? Have some negotiations with your suppliers. So then maybe you have some time to be able to communicate or phase that in for your customers. Or I know that with a lot of service-based businesses that I work with, when there needs to be a price increase, there's you can use a time frame, but also implement it straight away for new customers because they don't know they are not aware of anything different, and then phase it for your existing customers. So and it's not a question of can I increase this price, it's for me to be sustainable, these are the price increases. And I know that is a difficult thing to ask. But it's also make these small wins, not a huge overhaul of your whole pricing structure, your forecast, your cost of goods and things like that. So this is just what small wins can you make today, this week, to move that needle or to ease some of that pressure on your margins, to ease that pressure and make sure that you've got positive cash flow. So just see what you can do. So there's a few sort of wins there that you can make with cash flow. And it may be if you have products and you're maybe buying, smaller quantities but more often, maybe you buy, if you've got you've got a good data on a product, that you're going to sell it through, maybe it's a bigger order for less delivery, like a smaller delivery fee. So then that way you kind of can mitigate that cost of having multiple deliveries over a similar sort of time frame. So It's just sort of tightening up is probably how I would describe that. We just want to make sure that we're tightening what we can. And then time and energy, I guess, you know, where can we do more with our time? Particularly when we are in a bit of a, you know, that crisis mode, we feel like we've got to do more, which then, oh my goodness, this happens every time I do a video, so I do apologise. Just have an urge to yawn, but also probably because I'm doing it at 7:30 at night time. So look at, you know, have just a quick audit of how have you been behaving, acting, working in your business, and if you're trying to save money by doing more work, is that being as effective as you need to be as the leader of your business? Are you going to be juggling more, burning out? Are you doing the wrong thing? So just have a look and see what can be simplified, and, you know, and it may be not stopping things forever, but saying for the next 3 months, so let's go April, May, June, we're not going to offer this additional extra service, which means that, you know, that takes another 3 hours for me to do or to finish up. Let's just stop that. So then we've got some space, some brain space, some energy space to be able to do the key things that we need to do in our business. And if you do have people in your team, it may be just asking and spreading the load out a little bit more, or even at home. So if you're a solopreneur, it may just be, look, things are really tight in the business at the moment. I'm pretty stressed. For the next 3 months, so give it a time frame. Can you help with X, Y, and Z? So see what, you know, what resources you do have available to then help manage your time, manage your energy, so that you can get through this next period. We don't know how long it's going to be. So if we go, oh, that's okay, I can keep going for the next 3 months. It may be the next 6 months, it may be the next 10 months, we don't know. And so then that becomes more unsustainable by operating that way. It may be thinking about things, you know, like if you're a service-based business and you do home visits, perhaps it's batching, or home deliveries or something like that. It may be batching in those in grouped areas, or being proactive and saying, so if you're a photographer, for example, saying, okay, on these days I'm going to be here, and you can book in for headshots or something like that. So you limit the amount of, you know, fuel that you have to use to be able to get to places. You manage your time, you're being more efficient, saving, again, time, but money and energy. So just having a little think about what ways can I make this a little bit more systemized, a bit more organized, so that I'm not expending unnecessary energy. Have a think about, you know, and sort of do a little bit of a personal audit and go, well, how much time did I spend this last week on admin? Was it bits and pieces here and there? One of the things that I do is not have email notifications come up on my phone, and make sure that each day, usually when I'm on holidays or leave, I'll put it out of office saying I check my emails once daily at 3 p.m. Or something like that. It usually is, but that's kind of a habit I've also gotten into, so that I can batch email reading, email responding all at one time. It's not getting dragged off here, responding to that email there, another email there. So work out, you know, how you've worked the last, you know, couple of weeks, and how much time you've spent on that admin side of your business. Is there a time frame that you can commit to just going, that's my email time, or that's my customer order preparation time? So just sort of batching some of those tasks can make them more your time and energy efficient. And then also building in a little bit of a routine for some of those can help as well. Yep. And then the next, the last of the three of these sort of core levers is having a look at our current customers. So now that, well, if we identify that people are being a lot more considered with their spending and what they're spending on and who they're spending with, that's also a really good thing for us as small businesses, because we are, on the whole, more authentic and quality driven businesses, and great with customer service. So that's a good thing. A negative thing may be that our customers, if we are in regional or rural areas, that sounds really good, rural areas, is that they may not be traveling to get to us. So not everyone has stopped. There is still going to be some travel around, but they will be more intentional with their either purchases or their bookings. So just, again, not panic. Let's focus on our best customers. Let's reach out and service them with either follow-up, services or bundles, or if you're sending things, if you normally would have people come and visit you, can you offer your current mailing list, some bundles or some products or things like that can be delivered. But have a look in the last, month. Where are your best customers? What are they still saying yes to? So let's double down and lean into that. Let's work on those things that brought in, 80% of or where are your top 20% of your customers or your revenue coming in? Where's that coming from? So have a look at your data. Have a look and see who spent the most in the last month. And again, instead of discounting, offer them something that adds value. Can they access a new service, a new product, an extra half an hour meeting or whatever? So not a discounted, but an upgrade, something that makes them feel, adds to their feeling of value, and loyalty, and hold on to those, again, those products, those services where they're moving. Let's lean into what's working. Now's not the time to try and get everything moving, if you know what I mean. And also have a think about, your positioning of your service or business or product business. Can you position it or shift it into a why it is a must-have rather than a nice-to-have? Because we know that in times of high cost of living, people are spending less on nice-to-haves, but people will still be buying something for birthdays, for special occasions. So let's make sure that we've got, a really good understanding of when and where our customers are buying from us, and get that focus right. So we don't have to chase randoms, but you know what I mean? So you're not trying to, to market to everyone. You're just trying to make sure you spend this time understanding your key customers and your key products and services that you're delivering, and work on, again, we're tightening those things. We're just making sure that we're working on our best offers, our best returns, and also that fits in with the current climate. So we'll just work through the next sort of like 5-10 minutes, just working through this worksheet. Just got the little picture here. So that's in the emails. So this is where we get to sort of make it real. So I'm a big fan of actually doing the work, or getting you to do the work. So actually having this time and space to be able to make a plan, because it's all well and good to hear ideas and get some inspiration for what you can do in your business, but without leaving with a plan, there's still more time you've got to find for yourself, which you're already probably struggling to find. So take some time to grab that worksheet. Don't think too much about it, just write. So the first part of it is, identifying where you feel the pressure. Where does it feel hard, heavy, tight? And again, you don't have to think too much about it. No one else is going to see this. This is just for you. But pop down, where is it particularly feeling tight? Because if we can identify that and we can acknowledge it, then we can deal with it and then learn how to control it or, mitigate it. So once you've sort of identified where do you feel that pressure, the next thing we want to know is what can we control? So again, if we can identify there's lots of things, and as a general cost of living crisis, we can't impact or control. Fuel shortages and supplies and higher prices, we can't individually control. Where people spend their money, we can't control that. So as a former A-type personality who likes to control lots of things, this is really frustrating. But like I said, going through startup businesses, COVID, we had our third child. I've learned to really loosen that control gene and go with the flow, but also know what I can and can't control, and then act on what I can control. So go through each of those levers. So the cash flow, what can you control there? Well, as the business owner, you can control the price points. You can control what you're buying in, or paying for services in, your cost of goods, your cost of running a business. You can control that. Setting prices, promoting your best return product, as in my best profit margin product with the best return, and promoting that or offering that more. You can control that. Time and energy, having a little bit of that audit around, well, I can control, having Mondays as my admin day and really keeping an eye on these levers for the next 3 months. Like, I can commit to that, I can control that. Asking for, outside help for X, Y, and Z for the next 2 weeks, 4 weeks, that you can control. So that's something that you can, put in place right straight away, and then gain some control back there to preserve your energy, to give you some space and energy to be able to, keep on top of your business. And then customers. So, what can you control? Or you can make sure that you're, if you've got invoices or Xero, or use Shopify, where you can see what your top performing customers, your top performing products were in the last month. So we can control marketing those more. Shifting having a think more around those products and how we can make them more of a must-have than a nice-to-have. And customers, looking at those top 20%. Those top 20%, and know that we can offer them some added value. So, that can be an email campaign that's to your top 20% of your customers, offering them an additional X, Y, and Z, or a bonus, with gift with purchase item or something like that. You can control that. And I guess, looking at what needs to change. So what or how have you been acting or behaving or working in your business the last month that's led to having these outside external pressures added into the pressures of just running a business in general? Let's have a think about what needs to change, because I can't remember what's the quote. My only certainty in life is change, or something like that. But like, if we go into business and we go, right, it's going to be hard work. It's going to be hard. We're choosing this hard because it's fun a lot of the time. But also we want to operate in a way that is sustainable, because all those external pressures will always happen. We just can change how we react to it. So let's just sort of use this opportunity to go, do you know what? I burn the candle at both ends normally. And then when this shit happens, I break down. Okay. So if we can identify that, then it means that we can start to implement some things to change our own behaviour, as business owners and leaders in our business. So a bit of self-reflection time is good. And then let's have a look at the next 3 actions. I've got the next 3 actions that you need to take. So it may be like, once you've looked at what you can control, pick 3 actions that you go, yep, I'm going to email my top 30 customers. I'm going to call my suppliers and, you know, start that conversation about phasing price changes or whatever. It may be delegating some tasks or simplifying or stopping some things that actually aren't really going to move the needle for the business. So for the next 3 months, we're going to stop this activity. And then we'll go into your next 30 days. So again, they say, I think it says, you know, I think the saying is it takes 21 days to change a behavior. So let's just like keep some extra energy for the next 30 days to really keep a focus on those 3 levers. So you're not going to fix everything, you know, in a day or in a week. And now's also not the time to be fixing that, but we can make some really small tweaks and help focus on what matters next. Keep it simple, keep it focused, keep it consistent, and let's just do that for 30 days. So I want to help keep people accountable for that, but also know that our behaviours take a long time to change as well. But certainly through doing that worksheet and having that sort of bit of acknowledgement of where we're at now, of where the you know, the current climate sits with spending, with you know, global fuel shortages, lots of things going on, but we actually can control lots of things within our business. So just sort of getting that feeling back in your business, I'm under control, it's under control, I got it, it's fine. But this is not just the optimistic, it should be right, it'll be okay. It's actually, we've got some solid data to help reaffirm, I suppose, that we're on the right track. So let's just focus, let's just make sure that we are focused over busy. We keep things simple rather than trying to get them perfect, and we be consistent rather than being reactive. So that's where some of that, those systems, those processes will, you know, if we start to sort of build on them now, the next time another global pandemic, hope that doesn't happen, another, you know, external pressure comes into our business, we'll be much more relaxed, less reactive, and can be more strategic. So this is a bit of that risk mitigation, I suppose, to build into your business as well. But if, you know, you need a little bit more direction, then we have got some solutions for you. So I've got a 5-day compass sprint, which is actually, you know, 5 days worth of work. So worksheets, a workbook to go through with a topic per day. So it's quite an intense 5 days. Got some videos on there, but that's an online short course. And then we've got our 12-month course with monthly coaching. So we do a monthly 1-hour coaching, usually with myself and our compass guides, that can help support people in their business, because it's a long journey and it's a never-ending journey, which is great. I'd love to stop learning in my business, but we never do. Like, that's just the reality of it. So really just want to help give some direction and hope that we can give you some help and support in your next steps, particularly through, you know, times of high pressure, global crises. But yeah, so thanks for listening, thanks for joining. Hope you found it helpful, and I'll chat to you soon. Bye, Tanya.
Thanks, Shelley.